Do you want to know the fastest way to rewire your brain? Well, the answer might surprise you and it might trigger you. So I'm going to first say that. And second of all, I want to say before I tell you, I have worked with many thousands of people in their brain retraining journey, especially those trying to heal from chronic illness. And early on as a coach, I noticed a theme of brain retrainers who had come to me from especially a certain program that had been brain retraining for years, and they were pretty stuck. And they didn't understand why they weren't healing. And they're like, I'm doing brain retraining all the time. And as I started coaching with them, I started to notice something that there was a secret fear about getting out of their current situation. And you might think that's crazy, meaning like, no, I'm doing this tool all day long. I want to change. But here's how I knew. I'd say, what are you brain retraining for? What do you want? And they're like, well, I want to feel better. And I say, okay, why do you want to feel better? Because I don't want to suffer. Why don't you want to suffer? You're like, because this is just terrible. I'm like, why are you brain retraining? Because I don't want to feel this pain anymore. And I'm like, I would keep asking them. They couldn't answer why they were retraining their brain. What does that mean? They were doing brain retraining, sometimes hours a day, all day long, and they had no idea what they were brain retraining for other than to get away from their symptoms. So, the beginning of this video, I said, what is the fastest way to retrain your brain? Well, I will say it's not to get away from your symptoms. It's to know what you're going towards. Why are you doing this? What is the life that you want? Why is this so hard for people to understand? Like, you would think after being sick or spending years brain retraining, you would know that. But here's the deal, our limbic system is really sneaky. And our limbic system sometimes will create symptoms and suffering and chronic illness to keep us from discovering truth or emotions that it's afraid we can't handle. Sometimes it keeps us safe from a life that it thinks that we can't handle, and that we're better off and safer being sick in bed than being in that workplace overdoing it, or being in a relationship where we're not getting love, even though we are full of life force. It keeps us getting help and attention, even if we're sick, because if we get well, we might not get help and attention. In other words, there's all of these secondary gains. This is not conscious. And I know this can be really triggering. This is not a conscious thing. There's often a deep need getting met by being sick that your limbic system is in charge of. And sometimes that deep need is just simply to avoid feeling emotional wounding. And so the symptoms are an escape from that. So, what can happen that I see is that people will start doing brain retraining and they start doing this emotional elevation thing, and it becomes very addicting, and they get temporary hits of feeling joy and feeling good, but they're not actually convincing their psyche on a deep level that they want to heal and change and get back into the world. And why? Because they don't even know why they want to heal and change and get back in the world. When I ask them, what are you rewiring towards? And they can't even think of it, they don't know why. They're like, I just want to feel better. That is not a clear path to healing. So, the quickest way, the fastest way to rewire your brain is to know what you are rewiring towards. What kind of life do you want to live? How do you want to show up? What is your true path? What do you really want? Um, how are you going to show up differently in the job next time and not burn yourself out? How are you going to show up differently in relationship? How are you going to get your needs met? How are you going to keep um, giving yourself the needs that are meeting your own needs, maybe instead of being taken care of? You have to get clear. You have to get really clear. And you have to become aware of if your limbic system or certain parts of your psyche, if any of you are familiar with parts work, unconscious resistance to change, unconscious resistance to healing. There might be parts of you, like I've said, that are resisting having that life that you want, that are resisting feeling well because these parts of you might be afraid they're not going to get their needs met. So, in this process, it's not just about learning brain retraining, it's about learning why you want to get better, and it's about discovering and looking for parts of you that might not want to get better, and parts of your protective responses that are keeping you from feeling your full truth and feeling your full emotion. So the fastest way of brain retraining involves a lot of inquiry and internal work and a deep choice that nothing um there's nothing more important than getting your life back, even if it means that other people in your life will never believe you were sick. So here's another cue of what might be keeping you from healing with brain retraining, what might be blocking you. Another thing that helps you to brain retrain faster is to ask yourself, if I were to heal and to change, and then my family or my friends thought that this was all made up in my head, would I still want to heal and be fully better even if they never believed me? Because some of you might find, if you ask yourself this question, and all of this that I'm saying, by the way, I dealt with. So I'm not shaming anyone here because I felt all of this myself. If I just healed tomorrow and I was happy and full of life and vitality, they might not believe I was sick at all. And I had parts of me that did not want to experience that. And I wanted them to know and believe that I was sick. So I had some unconscious resistance to getting better. So I hope that this helps you understand that the fastest way to retrain your brain is to become clear what you're retraining your brain for, and why you might not actually want to heal on an unconscious level, or any secondary gains you have from being sick. I truly saw hundreds of clients, and I'm not exaggerating, that would rewire their brains hours and hours a day. And they had no idea what they wanted, other than they didn't want to feel the way they did. And when I dug in with them, they were afraid to heal because they were afraid they wouldn't be validated, understood, and helped anymore. When I could help them to see that there was actually a block there, and they could meet some of these unconscious emotions and truths that were keeping them, then their brain retraining practice was a lot different because there was less resistance to going towards the life that they were dreaming of. I hope that's helpful. I hope that it causes you to have some self inquiry about any blockages that you might have on your brain retraining journey.